Hi everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 11, Episode 22, The Reunion Part 2. Well, Part 1 left off with a cliffhanger question to Erica. Were you faithful to Tom? Okay, actually we back up a little bit and just to refresh everyone's memory, Andy was asking Erica, if Tom was cheating on you, then why stay? Erica says, there was so much more to the story than just cheating. Yeah, Andy, there was the money. There was the funding of the Erica Jane tours and the $40,000 a month expense that went along with it. So, yeah. It's not quite as simple as my 80-something-year-old husband is cheating on me, so I'm going to leave. Side note, did Erica Jane, the company, bring in any money? I mean, it must have, right? Even if it didn't bring in as much as went out, it still had to bring in something, like the singles that came out, and even selling the merch. I mean, I would think some kind of money had to come in to kind of make a dent in that $40,000 a month bill. Oh, my God. Anyway, Erica now says in this very staccato kind of voice, well, I asked Tom if he was in love with someone else, then divorce me. And he said nothing. Yeah, she gets that real mean face, like the face she gave to Sutton. Or what? When Sutton was like, or nothing. Like, geez, lady, calm down. Erica, I said, if you're in love with someone else, don't make me be the bad guy. Andy, how long do you think he was unfaithful? For years. Years, Andy. He doesn't even get the question out. So then Andy said, were you faithful to him? Okay, so for as quick as she was answering the other questions, like so fast that Andy didn't even finish getting the complete sentence out, this question, well, let's just say she took a rather dramatic pause. Were you faithful to him? She says, well, yeah, up until I filed for divorce, yeah. It's very believable. We now got an Erica package featuring all the times that Erica has ever told the girls what a great guy Tom was. Then the divorce announcement came out right after the Tahoe trip where she was telling people that Tom lets me be myself. That's what I love about him. You know, acting like everything was A-okay as usual with him. So then the email that she sent the ladies telling them that she was filing for divorce. And then several scenes of her with the waterworks, with and without waterproof mascara. Andy says, you've been on this show for 6 years and you've painted a very rosy picture of your marriage. Viewers didn't understand that. Erica says that her marriage, like others, like all marriages, was complicated. You're talking 2 decades. Yeah, so I've been married for over 3 decades, and I got news for you. It's not that complicated. It really isn't for most people. Andy asks her, do you think you went too far in the other direction on this show to like make him look good? Erica, I think I highlighted the best of him. Just say yes. And also, you know, isn't that a little inauthentic? I mean, if you're collecting a housewife's check, don't you have to kind of give the good and the bad? I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right. And then this is where Andy says to her, why didn't you leave sooner, Erica? Where was I going? Because I think we all know where she went. And by the way, I'm sure Taffeta was like, thanks for dragging me here. I liked my home with the old man better, except for the one time when he thought I was an intruder and his eyeballs exploded. But other than that, it was quite comfortable for a dog. Anyway, Erica says, where was I going? And Andy goes, I don't know, where weren't you going? Yeah, you're on a hit TV show, you have a career. Erica, Andy, hold on. I was not in control of my finances. I walked out with 2 credit cards. They get cut. Am I calling you? I think she was pointing at Kyle again. She goes, who am I going to call? Andy, well, I know what you make on this show, and it's not bad. Erica, I gave every paycheck to my husband. Rinna looks shocked. Garcelle goes, wow, since you started earning money? Erica, yes. Now, if she means that the money went into a joint account, then I understand it. But handing her money that she earned over to her husband and then having to like ask him for money every time she needs it, ugh. I realize I don't totally understand rich people, but if that's not just a way to control her, then I don't know what is. Side note, it's just occurring to me now that all the while she's painting this picture of Tom being a generous, sweet, loving man, she was also painting a false picture of herself, right? As this strong, badass woman who takes no prisoners. Apparently, neither of those things were true. Andy asks her if she felt like she was held captive. There's another long pause. Like, too long if you ask me. She says, I'll say this. I was 27 when I went in, and he was 60. The power balance was way out of whack. I mean, that's true. She says all her finances were kept down at the firm, and she had no access to it. And Andy goes, but that makes it sound like you stayed for the money. And Erica goes, no, you're making it sound like I stayed for the money. But I'm telling you, I stayed because I had no money. Okay. I mean, it's a fine distinction there, but I think what she's trying to say is it's not like I stayed because I wanted the opulence of a rich life. I stayed because there was zero money. Like, I couldn't even move into a apartment. But also, I mean, she did leave with no money from him. So I'm not quite sure what she's talking about when she keeps saying that over and over again. Where was I going to go? Anyway, Kyle kind of comes to her defense by saying, yeah, I mean, regardless of how much money you have, there are a lot of women in bad marriages that feel like they can't leave because they can't afford to. And Andy goes, aren't you entitled to half of everything? Erica goes, well, clearly I'm entitled to half the debt because everybody's suing me for it. Rinna. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Everybody's after her. Thanks, Rinna. You guys would be surprised to know that I love Lisa Rinna. I really do. I just see her as a character. And like it or not, I think these shows kind of need the antagonist. And she does it well. I'll give her that. Plus, I like Harry Hamlin. Andy says, over the years, you're saying he had multiple affairs. You're saying, I stayed in it. It was an old-fashioned relationship. I didn't have access to anything. But if you had left, wouldn't you have been legally entitled to half of everything? Erica, I'm saying yes. I'm in for half the liability and half the assets. Andy, but you didn't know there was liability at the time. Erica, which time? And he goes, did you? Erica, no. And that's a big part of all these lawsuits. We get a little eyebrow raise from Sutton. Andy, did you feel like the ship was sinking and you had to get out or you'd go down with it? Erica, I felt that he was sinking, not the ship. There was no talking to this person. I was being shut out completely. And the man is now in a memory care facility. We've all seen the pictures of him with the black eye. I did not, but they do show this picture. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't look great. Also, have we ever seen Tom without a suit and tie? Like ever? I don't think so. She's basically saying that now because we can all see that Tom is deteriorating, that she was telling the truth all along. She said it's not unusual for Tom to get sued in his line of work. But when she started to see her name on the lawsuits, that's when she started to pay attention. Erica now refers back to the reunion when it was Denise fucking Richards' first year. We see a flashback to the reunion 2019. Andy read this viewer comment saying, Erica is happy to talk about Lisa Vanderpump all day long. But when it comes to Tom defaulting on a $15 million loan, she doesn't say a word. Then Erica's response back in 2019 was, how about this? Resolved, and they apologized. Okay, now we cut back to this current reunion, and Erica said, you have to understand, it's like there's a wall of people around this man. Lawyers, people, I only had access to a part of this. Andy said, did you call any of those lawyers to see if you were on the hook for any of this? Erica, I called the lawyers I knew, but I'm not at liberty to say what and at what time I sought legal counsel. Okay. Then Andy reads a viewer comment saying, it's been 10 months since you filed for divorce, and if there's no money to be had, then why isn't this been finalized by now? Erica, competency hearing. Andy, is his conservatorship the reason why your divorce has been delayed? Yes. Next question. Why did you lie to Garcelle about Tom's infidelity? Erica, because of who it was. The 60-year-old blonde woman, who was she? Is that the one that she kind of outed on Instagram or no? Anyway, she goes, but just a little nugget, there were others. Okay, who are you trying to hurt the 60-year-old blonde? Because I'm pretty sure at this point, she doesn't care. Andy asks her, how many mistresses do you think Tom had? Hey, what a shady question. And she said, I know of 3. Andy, did you confront him about each one? Erica, 2. One I found out about the day I left. Andy, wow, how did you... Erica, she sent him a picture of her tits, and he has a flip phone. Time out. You guys, like literally, I do not think it's like the brand new Samsung one. I think she literally means back in the day when they had flip phones. Because she said, I just responded, nice tits, stupid bitch, but I couldn't figure out how to put a space in. So it was like one long run-on sentence. She cackles.
But I couldn't even figure out how to put a space. So it was like a run-on sentence.
We know she's known for the run-on sentence, but yeah, this was like the old flip phones where you have to like hunt. That's so funny to me. The next viewer question is for Kyle. What rumor did you hear about Tom cheating, and why didn't you tell Erica at the time? Kyle just says that, there were hints that things weren't great in their marriage, like little things that Erica would say, like, I would say Mauricio did something and she'd be like, oh, Tom would never do that for me. Just little kind of things like that. So I had some idea because there were so many rumors out there, so I kind of started to piece things together. But I didn't have anything clear until Erica actually shared it. Viewer question. Erica, were you drunk when you posted on Instagram about Tom's mistress? Erica, no. I was angry because everyone was saying Erica hid money. This divorce was a sham to hide assets. Okay. I think I'm convinced that you had a marriage that nobody would envy. But you've also convinced me that it was always pretty bad. Tom sounds like an egomaniacal nightmare. Controlling, dismissive, mean, condescending, and unfaithful. So the problem for me is that you put up with it for 22 years. So I can only come to the conclusion that it was the price you were willing to pay for the perks that came along with that. Being in a marriage to an extremely wealthy, famous lawyer. So that's why the timing of you finally leaving seems suspect. I'm sorry, it just does. I'm not saying you knew about all the shady stuff Tom was doing. In fact, I'm pretty sure you didn't. It sounds like you were left out of a lot of conversations, mostly treated like a child who was on a need-to-know basis, and I would say Tom never thought you needed to know. But I do think it was likely that you did what you were told, because you always have. It sounds like you did what you were told for 22 years. And why would that be any different now? If the people around that man who protect him told you to leave and file for divorce, I think you would do it. Because after the stories you're telling now, I don't think you're some badass woman who thinks for herself. I used to, but I kind of don't now. And now I kind of think your marriage was all about, like, I'll fund your Erica Jane persona and all that goes with that. And, maybe I'll make some calls and get you on Broadway as the next Roxy Hart. I think there were lots of perks like that for you in this marriage. But it sure seems like, on the whole, you were treated like someone who didn't need to worry her pretty little head over the details. Anyway, so Garcelle agrees with the anger. Okay, so now Andy goes back to another viewer comment. And this person says, I clicked on the auction for Tom's law firm and I nearly choked when I saw those panties. Please explain why there were lace panties in Tom's desk drawer. Side note, how did this person know they were in the desk drawer? I mean, I'm sure they weren't labeled that way for the auction. Desk panties. Anyway, Erica says that's the first time I've seen them too, and that they were not hers. We see the receipt of when he bought them, and it was January of 2015. So Erica guesses that it was perhaps a Valentine's gift for someone. Next viewer question. Erica, if you had no access to funds, how were you able to move out and rent an apartment without Tom knowing? Conveniently, Erica is not allowed to answer that question, but she assures us all that it was all done within legal bounds. I did nothing wrong, but I'm not going to answer that question. Does it involve Tom's legal team setting you up in a shitty house? Blink twice for yes. The next viewer question is also for Erica. I saw you wearing your Cartier ring while boarding a private jet. Are you completely insensitive or just clueless? Ouch, Erica. Neither. I was invited on a trip and I went. So, completely insensitive. I mean, listen, I get that if she is completely innocent of all of this, she shouldn't be held accountable or, but I don't know. Maybe hold off on the trips in a private jet. I know it's not your plane, you didn't rent it, and your friends did, but I'm not sure I would be able to enjoy myself on vacation until all of those people got their money back. I would be sick to my stomach. I don't think I could do it. Regardless of if it was my fault or not. If it was my husband's fault or my soon-to-be ex-husband's fault, I would still feel guilty. And yeah, I guess I would start to wonder where the money came from for all the things that he bought me. And in terms of jewelry or designer gowns, I would want them to sell it all. Because I'm not sure I could even wear that stuff and feel good, knowing that people right now are suffering and haven't gotten the money they need and deserve. Andy, viewer question. At Erica's astrology party last year, Tom wasn't missing a beat. Then we get a flashback to Tom entertaining the women with a story of when he was in high school and he met Abraham Lincoln or somebody. Oh no, it was John Wayne. I was a little off. And so he got to be in a movie, a Western, and he was shot off a roof and fell down. Dorit, did you have a stunt double? Tom, no, it was all me. Jeez. How many blows to the head has this guy suffered? Garcelle tells him he's a very good storyteller. Well, I wonder where he got that from. Anyway, he completely charmed everyone. And now we go back to another viewer question. So back to the viewer question, given all that, she wants to know how he can be in such a declined state now. Okay, well, I think that question's a little bit dumb because that can happen at any time, right? Anyway, Erica says, he's on a loop, saying the same stories over and over again. He's a master of persuasion and a master performer. But he could not have told you anyone's name here right now. She's pointing around the room. To Kyle, she said, will you please tell me what your friend said? And Kyle, oh yeah, my friend Jen. She said that watching that episode, and her mom has severe dementia now. She said, I'm telling you, I see similarities in Tom. There's a vacancy I'm seeing. They can be clear and talking one moment, and then the next moment, just nothing. So now Dorit says that it makes sense that he was regaling us with stories of the past. Erica, that's because that's what he remembers. Andy, viewer question. I have to laugh because it seems like the entire part 2 is viewer questions for Erica. Anyway, question. Erica, if you didn't know about the wrongdoing that Tom was involved in, why would you divorce him when he was so sick? He supported you for 20 years and finally needed your support, and you left him. Jeez. Erica, that's not true. It's not fair to say he got Alzheimer's and I split. The dementia was only part of what was going on. Oh my God, this again. Yes, just like she didn't leave him because the cheating was only part of what was going on. Now, she left him, but not because of the dementia. There was other stuff going on. Anyway, she says, even with this last accident, whatever. It was me that found him. I was the one that took him to the hospital. I was the one that did not allow him to go under anesthesia after having been unconscious for hours. 12, and then he called you from his flip phone on the side of a cliff. I'm sorry. He, like his flip phone, flipped out of the car, landed somewhere else, but after being unconscious for 12 hours, was able to reach his phone, flip it open, and call Erica, of all people. That's believable. I know it's wrong that I love that story because, I don't wish anyone to be hurt. It's just a great story. Anyway, Erica says that she took a picture of the brakes. I sent that to my dearest friend, who's an orthopedic surgeon. Okay, full disclosure, at first I thought she meant she took a picture of the brakes on the car. And I was wondering if she's going to send that to a mechanic or what. I didn't know if she was trying to say there were faulty brakes on the car or something. Then she said, I sent them to my friend who's a fantastic orthopedic surgeon. And I'm thinking, what's he going to do? Okay, yes, I am a little slow on the uptake. All right, listen, I am in the middle of trying to pack up my house. And while doing other things at the same time, which I won't bore you with. But yeah, a lot going on, people. I finally figured it out. She means the broken bones, his clavicle and his ankle. She sent them to her friend and she said, are either of these life-threatening or urgent that these get taken care of? Do we need to do this right now? Because I do not want this man at his age with these head injuries to go under anesthesia right now. Why does she keep calling him this man? You don't understand, Andy. There are people around this man. And now I don't want this man at his age. Anyway, her friend said, nope, I'll fix him next week. So Erica took him home. I did everything humanly possible to do right by this man. So I'm sorry. I'm angry. And Kyle goes, no, I'm happy to hear these details because I never heard this before. Of course. Isn't that the beauty of this whole thing, that every time you're with Erica, you get a new story? Erica, this is what's been happening. I protected that man, okay? Again, that man. I reached out to many doctors and was blown off. One physician even told me, I don't want to get involved because I don't want Tom to sue me. People still feared this man. Okay, this man should be a drinking game right now. But also stop calling him this man. You were married to that man for 22 years. You're making it sound like you helped a stranger on the street. I picked up this man who was unconscious and I brought him to the hospital and I did everything humanly possible to help that man. Okay, back to Andy with a viewer question for, you guessed it, Erica. Erica, how could you be hurt that Tom said someone could have you if they could afford you? You literally have a song called It's Expensive to Be Me. That was another really dumb question. Sorry for the person that wrote the question, but come on. To have your husband tell a strange man that if he could afford you, he could have you, instead of being a human being and his life partner, you were a commodity that could be bought and sold. Maybe that's why it hurt. Erica's answer was right. I don't think we should dig in too much to an over-the-top campy dance song. And she's right. Andy, with a viewer question for Erica. Erica, you married a man who funded your very expensive performing career that you've always wanted. Knowing what you know now, would you still have married Tom? Okay, in my opinion, there's really no other answer than to say no. Because would anyone ever want to be married to the man who took money from victims and widows and orphans? I feel like no is the only right answer. But of course she takes another agonizingly long pause and says, I'm in a place right now where I don't quite know who I was married to, because there are good parts and there are bad parts. Well, we know what the bad parts were. He was mean, vicious, withheld affection. Remember the time you told us in your confessional that you hugged him and he just wouldn't hug you back? Oh, must have been fun. He's manipulative, he's dismissive, and worst of all, he may have stolen money from orphans and widows. So what were the good parts? Or, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. What were the good parts that didn't involve money or gifts or an opulent lifestyle? Erica says, much like everyone else, I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Rinna, oof. Yeah. Yeah, Erica, we're all wondering that. Gosh, it's hard. It's hard to be Erica. I'm sorry. Side note, Rinna couldn't be trying harder to be on Erica's side. Erica goes on, there are moments that I'm sad, heartbroken, and bewildered. Now she's really just kind of playing to the audience. Like, what was real? Andy, do you think Tom loved you? Erica, I do. But I think he changed. Andy, did you love him? Erica, I did. And I think you can see that. And then Andy goes, well, I think the thing that everybody's fixated on is whether or not he ripped off all those people. Erica, right. Oh yeah, them. Andy, so let's fixate on that. Where do you put that in terms of your feelings for him? Erica, I really and truly hope that that's not true, because that is not the man that I married. Okay, but it is true. I mean, somebody took their money. Like, I hope she's not saying she doesn't believe the victims, because whether Tom did it or not, it's true that the money that they wanted in their various lawsuits, they never saw. That part is indisputable. I mean, we believe the orphans and widows, right? Now, whether Tom took it or someone in his firm took it and Tom didn't know, listen, there are recordings in The Housewife and the Hustler. There were recordings of Tom's voice. Oh, please don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. Are you mad at me? I'm going to see what I can do to get your money. I don't know how he's not guilty, but anyway, Andy says to her, do you think there's a chance that it's not true? 'Cause it doesn't look good. Yeah. Erica, yes, it does not look good. However, we still need to get to the bottom of it. Okay, well, let's get Sherlock Holmes on it, because this one's a real stumper. Andy, when we read about the allegations, your name is all over them. So what do you want people to know? Kyle nervously smacking her lips. Erica, this is not who I am. I feel terrible. I'm sitting here trying to gather information and fight my way out of it. Kyle, Sutton didn't even know she owned a baseball team. Well, huh? How is that the same thing? I mean, yes, I guess you're trying to say that it's possible to not know everything your husband is involved with until you get a divorce. And even Sutton was kind of like, yeah, that's why I was talking about forensics accounting. Erica, it's hard for people to understand how you could not know. And Andy goes, and it becomes more difficult when it's allegedly other people's money. Erica says she has to worry about herself now because a lot of Tom's decision-making is pointing back at her. Erica, his life is over. He's in his 80s. He's in a memory care facility. His career is over and done. I just turned 50. I cannot allow all of this to destroy me. I have to survive this. That's why I'm feisty. Sorry. Hold on. Give me the tissues. Guys, it's not the best optics that the first time this woman needs the tissues is when she's talking about how bad this could be for her. Yeah, the real victim in all this, Erica Jane Girardi. Okay, we come back from break and we change the subject to talk about somebody that I actually love. Crystal's housekeeper, Lucy. Andy said she's a fan favorite and she's quite the fashion police. We get the flashback to when she was in the closet with Crystal and told her that something was ugly, a dress. It's ugly. And Crystal goes, it's not ugly. There's a viewer question for Dorit. Your wedding dresses are stunning, but who could afford $30,000 for a wedding dress? Dorit, well, first of all, this is a luxury brand, but the $35,000 one just happens to be the jewel of the collection. Most of them are about $6,000 to $8,000. Then we segue into Dorit's gift of gab and how it's the gift that keeps on giving. And we roll tape to the Dorit talking too much package. Dorit says that she knows that she can be long-winded, but she doesn't think she interrupts people. She just gives a lot of details. Like me. Andy says, anything you would change after watching that back? And Dorit says, I think there's a way you can say it that's okay. I like having a banter back and forth with my friends. Am I boring you, Andy? Right then is when Andy Cohen is trying to stifle a yawn.
And I like that. I like being able to have that banter with my friends. Am I boring you?
I'm sorry. I just swallowed a yawn, but you are not boring me whatsoever.
Oh my God. Of all the ladies there, you have to do that while Dorit is talking? Oh God, it's so bad. Then there's a viewer question for Kyle. Kyle, Dorit, Garcelle, and even Carlton have accused you of talking over people. Do you ever think maybe the problem is you and not Dorit? Dorit, finally, the voice of reason. Garcelle, who's Carlton? And Kyle goes, exactly. And he's like, well... Then we get a flashback to 2013, Carlton the Witch's year. And I don't know, Kyle just said it's different and you can't compare the two. Viewer question. Crystal, you were in the middle of Dorit and Kyle's argument on the plane. Who was in the wrong? Crystal wimps out and says, you know, they fight like sisters, and so I'm just going to call it even. Andy, Garcelle, what do you think? Garcelle goes, I'm going to have to say Dorit, just because we were talking about how long-winded she is. There's a couple questions about Dorit's comment about her staff being multicultural and using that as an example of her family not being racist. Dorit admits that she used her words poorly there, but that the sentiment was the same, which is she was raised and is also raising her own children to welcome diversity. Andy asked Garcelle her opinion. And she said, well, that night, it was a tough conversation. And I was uncomfortable, so I can imagine these ladies were. And Erica said, that's how you make progress. Kathy, I liked what you said because you explained it to me. You taught me something I didn't know. And sharing is beautiful. And Garcelle said, you know, everyone on social media takes everything so seriously all the time. I love the aspect of this show that we've been able to have these conversations. Then we move on to more important things like whether or not Dorit has really ever had a nose job. Dorit, I was hurt because if I had ever had one, I would say so. And we see a bunch of flashbacks to her nose looking very, very different. So I don't know. I actually kind of agree. You know, what difference does it make? A lot of the women have work done. Nobody's afraid to say they have Botox. Why would anybody be afraid to say they had a nose job? I certainly don't think that plastic surgery is stigmatized the way it used to be, and most definitely not with the Real Housewives of any franchise. You know, that's kind of their brand. So if she had a little glow up, I think she would let us know. So I kind of tend to agree, although, yeah, her nose looked a lot different. Is it contouring? Who knows? Who knows? She said, I genuinely haven't. And I believe her. Then Andy has a viewer question. Garcelle, do you think that the Dorit goldfish talked the Kyle goldfish to death? Literally. And everybody has a laugh, and then we go to a commercial. All right, back from the break, we dive right into the Lisa Rinna package. Oh, Andy, this is fun. This package has less to do with Lisa Rinna herself and more to do with her family. Like, there's a lot of Harry stuff in there. You know, Harry planting in his garden and, you know, MacGyvering stuff around the house and planning a fire drill and using acrylic nails. All the things that Harry does. And the rest was about Amelia and Scott. And that is what the first viewer question is about. Amelia and Scott Disick. Why did they break up and who pushed the eject button first? And Rinna said, well, you know, I just think you need to read the press. And Amelia did.
I think you just have to read the press, and Amelia did.
Lisa says she didn't push her to do it. And Andy asked if the breakup was because of that whole DM thing. For those of you who don't know and care, probably a sliver of you, Scott Disick was the boyfriend of Kourtney Kardashian for many years, and they have 3 children together. They never married, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, it was like a marriage. He's very entrenched in the Kardashian family, even after they broke up, and they have been broken up for several years now. Even still, he spends a lot of time with the Kardashian family. Okay, Kourtney Kardashian is now engaged to Travis Barker, who is the drummer in Blink-182. Travis Barker and Kourtney were on vacation somewhere, and I guess there's a lot of PDA, and they weren't engaged at the time because that's more recent, but they were away on vacation together, and I guess they were posting pictures of them kissing and stuff like that. Well, Scott Disick sent a DM to Kourtney's old boyfriend that she had between Scott and Travis Barker and said, oh my God, can you believe this? Well, that boyfriend, what's his name? Eunice something. Eunice, what's his name? I can't remember. Anyway, he posted the DM that Scott sent him and kind of like outed Scott Disick for even caring about what Kourtney does with whoever she wants, because he didn't think Scott should be concerned about it, and apparently neither did Amelia. So everyone kind of thinks that he's still in love with Kourtney. Whether he is or isn't, I don't know, but yeah, wasn't good. So that was what Andy was asking Lisa. Is it because of that DM that they broke up? And Lisa said, well, it didn't help. And so now Lisa has been posting pictures of Harry Styles on her Instagram because she's always loved him, and why else? Is she trying to get Harry Styles to date Amelia? Because I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, don't we all want Harry Styles to be with our daughters? I love him. I just think he is like the coolest person. Anyway, Andy said, I hear that Harry Styles is a fan of the show. And both Lisa and Erica said he is. He loves the show. And Dorit said, he actually asked some of us for a birthday video. And we get to see Dorit's cameo happy birthday to Harry Styles.
Fan of this show.
He is. He loves the show.
He actually asked some of us for a birthday video.
Hearing that you have been self-quarantining and binge watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, it's just about the best news I've gotten all month.
He loves the show.
Oh my God. Andy asks Lisa if bashing Scott on the show hurt their relationship. And she said, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. She said that she warned Amelia before the show aired that, you know, she had said some stuff. And now Andy asks all the other ladies how they felt about the breakup. What? Why would they care? Is that like the weirdest thing ever? Lisa's daughter broke up with her boyfriend. Garcelle, what do you think? Strange. Erica goes, good. Kyle said, relieved. No, I mean, like, I want everyone to be happy, but there was too much of an age gap. Andy, Crystal, you and Rob are 20 years apart. Did your parents approve? How about that, Kyle? Crystal, well, my parents were 23 years apart, so no, they really had nothing to say about that. Andy, Lisa, when you met Scott Disick, is that when you really started to dislike the relationship? Lisa said, no, he was very nice. He said, how many times have you met him? And she goes, I want to say 3. And he goes, you want to say 3? Andy's being so weird here right now. And she's like, no, it was 3. And also, are we really talking about Amelia and Scott Disick again? I thought this was Lisa's turn. Although, to be fair, Amelia and Scott Disick was Lisa's storyline this year, wasn't it? Side note, I think if anything interesting actually happens to Lisa Rinna, she will have less time to butt into everybody else's stuff and get in trouble. Andy, viewer question. Kyle, you're good friends with Kris Jenner. Oh my God, please tell me this is not going to be about Amelia and Scott Disick. It's about Amelia and Scott Disick. Kyle, did you get in any trouble with the Kardashians when you shared your opinions about Scott and Amelia dating? Kyle, no, they didn't say anything about it. Of course not. Do you think any of the Kardashians have time to worry about what Scott Disick is doing or who he's dating? They don't. We find out that Lisa got to celebrate Lois's 93rd birthday with her. And then there's a viewer question about, why do you think Drake follows you on Instagram and none of the other ladies? And she goes, I don't know. I don't even know. Then we get a flashback to when they were in Palm Springs at Kyle's house, and Kyle said, my daughter just texted me and said, why doesn't Drake follow you the way he follows Lisa Rinna? And Lisa goes, oh, yeah, I didn't know. Like Champagne Pappy or something. They're like, Champagne Poppy. I didn't even know who Champagne Pappy was. It's Champagne Poppy. Doesn't know, doesn't care. Then a viewer noticed that Kyle posted a thirst trap on Instagram trying to get Champagne Poppy to follow you. Did it work? Kyle said, no, it didn't work. But she does look great in this bathing suit. I will give her that. Then Andy said, people really have positive reactions to Harry Hamlin this season. And then he reads a couple of the comments. Harry Hamlin can plant his vegetables in my garden all night long. Which I think is... I just think that's funny. Then people are like, Harry can cook, entertain, garden. What do you bring to the marriage other than damn good BJs? Lisa, well, you guys are going to laugh. But Harry said to me, he says, you are the smartest person I know. Oh, wow. Harry needs to get out more. Kyle said, and he knows you the best. That's sweet. Everyone thinks it's very sweet, which of course it is. Viewer question, Garcelle, it was so sweet of Harry to make you extra sauce. Would you rather be friends with Harry than Lisa? And Garcelle goes, well, I have always loved Harry Hamlin. So, yeah, she's like, yes, Harry. I'd rather be friends with Harry. And then Lisa says to Andy, I have something for you. And she reaches behind her, and it's a jar of Harry's sauce that he made with tomatoes from his garden before he went off to Canada to film, whatever he's filming there. Is it a series or is it a movie? Because I feel like he's been there for a while. Unclear. Okay, next we talk about Kathy and Kyle. We see a package of the hijinks with those two. Kathy calling her Doogie, and producer asking Kathy, what is Doogie? Oh, it's a little child. It's a term of endearment. And then, she didn't know that Kyle made lasagna. And Kyle's like, yeah, it's my famous lasagna, but you haven't been around. And so then we see like how the rift between them over the years was caused, I guess, by Kyle doing the American Woman show and having it be loosely based or inspired by their mother. Kathy didn't like that. And so now they both get emotional watching that package back. Andy asks Kathy about her feelings about watching the first season of Housewives with Kyle and Kim and their struggles, and then we flash back to like the fights that they had together, and then Kim struggling with sobriety and all that. So Kathy says, yeah, I kept thinking about my mom and what would she do? Because as the oldest, I felt, and Dory goes, a responsibility. And she said, yeah, I did. And I understand Erica a little bit. How? No, but she said, because there was a part of me that was very much holding things in. But, I guess it can help others to be vulnerable, not waste any time. Andy wonders if she had watched American Woman, if it might not put everything to rest, kind of like what she imagined the show was like. It was probably a lot worse than it actually was, And she said no, because she goes, well, first of all, I don't watch much TV, but like I don't even talk to my mom's friends because it's too painful because their mom is gone. And you guys, she is like really sobbing now, just racked with sobs, and Kyle's hugging her and Kyle's crying, and it's truly getting everybody else emotional. Oh boy, you guys, it's painful to watch. Kyle, like I said, she's crying. She's consoling Kathy and saying, it's okay, Mom is happy because we're together. And that is where part 2 ends. So thanks, Bravo, for ending on a high note there. No, I mean, it's sweet. And of course, I think Garcelle said it. At least you did mend things before it was too late. And Kathy said, no, yeah, you're right. So, yeah. That was it. We get some previews for part 3, and oh boy, it looks good. This whole thing has been good. Part 2s of even a 3-part reunion are usually the filler episode. And I guess it was a little bit filler, but not really. There was still a lot of really good stuff. All right, that's it for me. I gotta get back to work. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. It helps me so much. If you are starting to purchase things for Christmas, everybody's telling us to start early with your Christmas shopping because there's a shortage on everything and shipping is delayed and all that kind of stuff. So if you're getting started early and you're choosing Amazon to shop, don't forget to go through one of my links down below. I get a little bit of a percentage of the things that you purchase, even if it is not the thing in my list. You just click on that. It brings you to your Amazon homepage and you can just shop from there. All right. As always, if you liked this episode, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. And don't forget to leave a comment. I've been really too busy to answer everybody. I am still trying to read them all. It's just a little bit of a rough time for me right now. Anyway. All right. I'll see you next time. I love you guys. Bye.